Hey. Hey everyone. I'm wearing a mask because I'm in my shared studio space. There's some other people rummaging around. I'm going to keep the live stream kind of short today, just a heads up. But I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit about my progress and where I'm at right now in the residency. I finished my first arm hug object, which was the orange one that was shared on Instagram, and that is currently in Seattle with my first participant, William, and he's filming, and I'll be getting a flash drive back from him by the end of this week with on the flash drive there will be videos and voice recordings that respond to the prompts that I shared with him for how to engage with the object. And once I get that, I will then start editing and piecing together that video. So I'll be hoping to share that with you in the next few weeks. And until then, I've been working on the teal piece. So right now I'm stuffing the hands, and they're really kind of like salad fingery. You can see like this one doesn't have any stuffing in it yet, but this one does. Sometimes when I stuff them, it'll rip open a little bit. And I actually use like wooden chopsticks to like stuff the stuffing in. So sometimes I'm just a little too aggressive. But it's okay because I kind of like hand embroidering and giving it kind of a cheeky mended look. So right now I'm just trying to find like what embroidery floss I have that best matches the color of the hands. And then once I'm done with that, I don't know where to put it. I will also work on stuffing this. So you can see this is the noodle arm before it's stuffed. So it's like a very nice teal and a dark purple. I actually used a darker purple thread for the words than for the hearts. So it's kind of a last minute choice. But I just think this contrast of color looks a lot nicer. It's harder to see it on YouTube, but you can kind of see that the middle is wider than the end. It kind of tapers into like a wrist. And you can see that I did add like a seam going around, and that's where I'll attach the hands. So right now I'm just kind of running out of polyfill, which is what I stuff my objects with. So actually this week I'll also be spending a lot of time photographing old work and getting some final documentation, and then I'll take some of that work apart so that I can reuse the polyfill. I have really mixed emotions about polyfill because it's all microplastics. It's really, really bad for the environment. And one thing I've been trying really hard to work on in my practice is to just be as more sustainable, and sustainable as I can be. So I used to be really excited about fake fur, and kind of how that material could just kind of like completely change the material of an object, and transform it. But one, it gets on everything. Like it would get on all my clothes, and never leave. But it's also like fake fur is like entirely made of microplastics. So I felt less good or less positive about working with that material. And also just like wanting to see how I can make patterns with other fabrics. I'd say for like the last 2 or 3 years, I've been sourcing most of my material from thrift stores or secondhand stores. I mean, for like solid colors, I'll also buy from like my local fabric store, like Cottons. But just trying to think more about like what the materials I'm buying are and how they will continue to live on. So with polyfill, I try and buy it as much as I can secondhand so that the waste that's already out there is continuing a life cycle. And then if I'm buying it new for like a bigger project, I just try and reuse it as much as possible. There are organic polyfills and stuffings, that are more expensive, but like as I continue to get more funding for other projects, I think that that's something that I'll be able to prioritize. And then I also use a lot of my scrap fabric. Like I always keep a bin with scraps from different projects I'm working on, including thread. And when I can, I'll stuff work with scraps, but it just depends on like what texture I'm trying to find. Um, for if you're familiar with quilting, there's this thing called batting, Batting. If that's hard to hear through the mask, but it kind of gives like a thicker layer to the quilt. That's like how quilts are warm and have that texture. So when adding batting behind the layer of a fabric, it's harder. It kind of evens out the texture more. So I'm hoping that by doing that, I'll be able to use scraps more. Yeah. Shoot, what was I gonna say? But yeah. Like I keep like every little scrap, especially when it's like a meaningful material. Like this is like fabric from an outfit that my mom made for me when I was a kid. So I'm using some of the scraps to make pieces. But like I only have so much of this fabric, so I have to keep every single little bit. And I think I'm going to use, like, I have this many tiny little scraps. I still have more of it, but I might make like a very tiny quilt, uh, or like a tiny patch. I have like one jacket that, is kind of like my Joseph's Technicolor coat, where I just like vomit scraps and embroidery and kind of put anything and everything on it. Oh, you can actually see it. It's this flannel. Maybe I'll at another point pull it out and show it off. I just have like a lot of things pinned to it right now, so I don't want to move it. But yeah, I really enjoy just being able to reuse as much as I can or trying to do that more. I think it's also like turned me off from a lot of material. Like at one point, I was really, really excited to try and work with resin to make kind of like square forms that like encase materials. But one, it can be kind of expensive. And two, it's just like a material that's not really that good for you. So I think just because I have so many other projects that I'm excited about and interested in pursuing, I like don't feel like I need to do that. But yeah. And then kind of on the side, I've also been working on some smaller things. I've been working on these guys. Just kind of like two-dimensional representations of the project. I haven't decided if it's going to become a book or maybe like a mini quilt or something else. I've kind of also made like a book like form. This says, I am here. The quality of the video is making it a little hard to show off. I haven't cut the jump stitches from this yet, but here's like another page. And with some of the books recently, like it's really a way for me to sketch my ideas and collage and textile before getting started on a bigger project. I think it can be really beneficial to think about 3D objects in 2D as well, and kind of like imagine your idea in different materials and different forms. But yeah, I've also been working on some different books, like textile books, and one of them I kind of reflected on COVID, and I was trying to think about like words that you would hear in like a friend breakup, but that you would also hear like in COVID. So like thinking about the phrase like we haven't seen each other in a really long time, like that phrase or that concept fits into a lot of different circumstances. So yeah, there are just different things that I've been thinking about. I can pull that one out specifically. This is the book that I'm talking about. This is also the first project that I used my embroidery machine on. So this is like the cover, and open it up like a book. And you can see more of it on my website if you want to look at the pages with better colors. But this is actually from a painting that I did freshman year that I never finished. And I cut it all up into squares. And at one point, I told myself I was going to make it into a quilt, and I just never did. And it was so freeing letting myself use that material for a different project. Like sometimes I'll set certain materials away and be like, okay, like I'm going to use this to make this. It just never happens. So sometimes it can be really freeing to allow myself to shift my expectations around those materials. Yeah, I don't know if I have that much else to share today. Today I'm going to keep it kind of short. I had a doctor's appointment, not COVID related, but they had to like numb my arm. So it's just like a little hard for me to work with my hands right now. And I don't want to mess anything up. But yeah, I'll definitely be sending more videos and pictures and updates, and am looking forward. I've been feeling really good about how the project's going so far, and I'm looking forward to keeping it up. So I will talk to you all again soon. All right, have a good one.